Hi everyone, Paul ISM. We were going to build this next, but it turns out it's a load of crap, so we're not going to bother. We'll build something else instead. So, of course, I'm only joking. It's not a bad kit, this one, at all. So, part one of the Revell 125th 70 Dodge Challenger. So, this is a cracking looking kit and a great looking car as well. You couldn't get these for about £22 on Amazon Prime. So, if you want one, go grab one because it looks to be a really decent kit. So, today, of course, it's part one of the video build. So, I'm going to deal with the bodywork today. Sadly, with these builds, there's only so many ways I can do things. I always start with the body, so it's the same process every time. But I think I picked a pretty interesting colour for it. I think I've got a pretty decent eye for the colour. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be another nice build. So, let's dive straight in and get started with the build. So, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos. Click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there. Right then, so we're straight in with the build. So I didn't have a look through the box, mainly because the Revell kits aren't the best packaged. You basically get a bag of plastic with a body, with some wheels and tyres and some decals. But you'll see all the parts as we go. And we're dealing with the two main parts on this kit that need glued in place today, which is the front and the rear assemblies. So they both fit on fairly well. They are going to leave a panel line, which the car doesn't naturally have. So we are going to fill those in as well, which adds to the workload, makes things a little bit more difficult. But hey, it's just one of those things. So we've got some UMP sanders, and we're going to get our 400 customizable. Cut to a more manageable size and just take off all the rough edges, a bit of flash here and there. It generally looks to be a good kit. It doesn't look too bad at all. So the fit isn't all that bad. As you can see, goes together quite well. So we've got our Tamiya Extra Thin there. That's our 50-50 mix with EMA Plastic-Weld. And as you see, just by offering it up, the rear parts fit together really well. So we're going to add a bead of glue each side, a bead of glue inside, along that back section, and that should do us here on this. So the best way of doing this is just hold it in position, let the glue touch the part, and let the capillary action carry it down through the seam. Like I said, we've got a Tamiya Extra Thin, that's mixed 50-50 with EMA Plastic-Weld. And we're just going to allow that to run, and that will glue us together absolutely perfectly. Just make sure we are positioned correctly where we want it. Then gently turn it around, make sure we've got no glue on our fingers. And we'll repeat that for the other side. Then we can have a little line inside and a little bit of glue. As you can see, the parts do pop back out, so you do need to be careful. Just take your time. If you're in doubt at all, put a clip on there, a little bit of tape, which is what we end up doing on the front piece. So like I say, a couple of beads of glue on the outside. A nice bead of glue on the top piece. You don't need a lot of this at all. It's a nice hot glue. It melts the styrene really well. I'm just going to go around and make sure we get every little nook and cranny glued in place. And then we'll go on inside, add a little bit inside to make sure we've got full structural strength. Then we can let that set overnight and come back the next day, sand it back and fill it all in. So quite simple really, nothing too difficult to do. Like I say, it looks to be a pretty decent kit. All the body panels fit on well. It's a decent body as well, it's pretty clean. On the front, I decided to clamping it. I thought, right, let's clamp this one on. A lot more awkward to get to this one. So we clamp the edges, let the glue do the work, let the capillary action carry it down the seam. Don't need a lot at all. You will literally see it carry itself down there. And we're not moving it, we won't get any distortion of the parts. or any problems. So a couple of beads either side. Let that glue take a hold and get underneath, at the top, at the sides, all underneath, exactly like we did on the back piece. We get inside, outside, and then, like I say, we can leave this overnight to fully set, and then come back the next day and sand it back and see what we're left with. So it's the following day now. We've got our UMP 240 thinny sponge, and we're just taking back those parts we glued last night, getting them all nice and smooth and seeing what kind of seam we are left with. So it's just sand a little bit, have a look, sand a little bit, have a look, and when you look at it and think, right, there's no more to sand and I need to fill, you can fill it with your filler of choice, which for us today will be CA glue. I've tried and used near enough every filler I can find out there over the years, and they all seem to shrink. None of them have the best gap filling properties. CA glue and homemade sprue glue, which is some Tammy extra thin with bits of styrene in melted to make a plastic goop, are the best. I quite happily use the sprue glue if it dried a little bit quicker, but it does take a while to dry, sadly. So, like I said, we're going to reside to using the yellow Deluxe Materials Rocket Rapid. This is the 5 to 10 second. We've got our UMP paint cup upside down. I like to use them upside down. A lot of people ask why. I just find them easy to use like this for CA glue. And then we've got some kicker in the back one, the Rocket Blaster. And we've got a micro brush. And what we're going to do, we're just going to put the kicker along the seam and then hit it with the CA glue. And I find this helps it dry in the seam. These are tricky, these seams. You'll either get an instant fill, you'll sand it back and it'll be perfect, or you'll be fighting and chasing the seam around. It's a bit of a nightmare. So we'll repeat that for the front and back, all four sides. Just a little bead of the kicker. And then a generous helping of the CA glue over the seam line. And again, you can leave that to dry, or you can hit it with the kicker again if you want to go instantly. I tend to let it dry. So while that's drying, we'll work on our bonnet or hood. We'll just get rid of the sprue point, get it all nice and straight edged. Make sure all the edges are clean, they're all flash free. Like I said, it's a pretty clean kit, this one, not too bad at all. So just some gentle sanding, just take your time, don't remove too much. It's easy to sand a bit more than going back because you can't go back once you've sanded it off. And again, right, so this is still drying. We left the CA glue to dry and we thought we'd work on the actual body seam. So as always, there's a seam front to back. Revell are pretty good at hiding these, to be fair. I think they're better in Tamiya in some respects with doing these. But there's a nice sharp one on the top of those front wings. That runs up through the windows and along that rear quarter at the back as well. So just some gentle sanding. We don't want to reprofile the wing. We just want to take the sharpness off. And the same at the back as well. Just a gentle seam, not too bad. That's the worst point there, just behind the 3/4 glass. So we're going to have to get in there a little bit more carefully. And our thinny sponge does the job absolutely perfectly. We don't want to reprofile the shape, so it's just slowly. And then if you need to, we can come with our 400 customizable for a bit more precision in the sanding department. So just take your time, don't apply too much pressure, don't just sand one area because you'll get a flat spot or a divot in there. And then once we're happy with those, we can go back to the CA glue part that we did. And again, we just sand them back. It takes a bit more work now because the CA glue is a lot harder to sand than styrene. But just slowly sand it away, keep checking it. Check it with your fingernail. If you can feel the step or the seam, it's going to be refilling. Now, sods all on the back of this, one of them filled absolutely perfect, one of them didn't. So we had to redo it again. But a good way of checking is get a black marker pen and draw side to side over the seam and then buff that away, and any seam will hold the marker pen in there. Good little trick. I'm just going to use a buffer, sand it away. This side was pretty much spot on. The other side fought me a little bit. I had to repeat the CA glue trick a few times to get it right, but we got there in the end. Now we need to flatten the body, so you could use a 240 sponge from UMP. You could use our buffer, the blue side, because all we want to do is dull down that body, get rid of any glue marks, any slight flaws on the finish. You could use the rough side of the buffer, no problem at all. You could use a 240 sponge, or what I like to use is this 240 sponge sander. Now, I say this every time, this is a proposed UMP product. Well, it may come out, it may not. I've got a small selection of it, and I'm using it while I can. And it does a good job of dulling the shine off the body. So we're basically keying it for primer. So we just take all that shine off, add in thousands of microporous imperfections that allow our primer to grip, and just get rid of any flaws or glue marks. Once we've done that, we can come with our Oral-B Stages 2, which is a 2 to 4 age toothbrush in a blue-green combo. And we can get rid of all our dust in our panel lines and any recessed areas over the body. Once we're happy all the dust is gone, we can come with some UMP cleaner on a bit of kitchen paper and go around and remove any fingerprint residue, dust, contamination. You've been eating crisps while you've been building, you've got salt and vinegar flavour all over the model. This will do a lot more damage than any supposed mould release. There's no need to wash your kits anymore. They don't need washing. After prep, any IPA based, alcohol based thinner, cleaner, whatever, will remove this. Just don't use pure lacquer thinner because that'll melt the plastic. And then of course we're doing our hood or bonnet as well. This is going to be black. There's a different colour to the body. It's a little bit of a tonal difference to the look of the bodywork. But yeah, UMP airbrush cleaner works perfectly. Any alcohol based, IPA, whatever you've got there, any alcohol base that evaporates will remove all those fingerprints and residues behind that you've added while handling the kit. It's time well spent. Takes 2-3 minutes to do. Really simple and easy. What we're going to do, we're going to mount the bonnet on an all paint pot using one of our 3M pads like we showed in a previous video, and the car body shell is mounted on a Tamiya stand at the back. So we want a light grey primer again. So we go with the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, decanted and thinned with the lacquer thinner retarder, about 20%. It's obviously off gas as well. We're just giving it a mix up of our Badger paint mixer, which does a good job of mixing up this primer. It does have a habit of settling on the bottom over time, so it always needs a good stir. I'm just going to add that to our UMP Apex 0.35 needle. We've got a Tamiya anti-static brush to get rid of any any dust or hairs I've landed on the model in the meantime. Trust me, the styrene is like a magnet to dust and hairs. It's a pain in the backside. We've got our 0.35 Apex for 18 psi, and we're going to give 2 or 3, probably 3 light coats of this over the body. It's a white body. We've got a light grey primer, so it's quite easy to see. I would normally use UMP primer, but I think it'd be a little bit too dark for the green colour that we chose, so I went with this again. We did the same on the last build because it was a green colour. So we're just going to go around, add a mist coat on first, get a bit of a key for our subsequent wetter coats. And the more coats you put down, the more slightly wetter you can go. And I do find that this paint does like to go down a little bit wetter. It likes to go down a bit wetter, self-level itself. And I found if you put it on too thin, it can dry and ball up and leave a nasty, horrible, rough surface behind. So, in my opinion, get this down quite wet. Not on your first coat. Just build it up slowly. 2 or 3 coats. Probably 3, I would say, is probably about right. Until you've got a nice prime surface. So, engine bay on this, I believe this one is body colour. So, we're going to make sure we pay full attention to get all that engine bay primed and painted in the appropriate colour too. And there we go. That's probably after 3 coats now. I'm going to look around, make sure we haven't missed anywhere. We've got all underneath those wheel arches, in and amongst the bumper, all under that bonnet. We've got all inside the interior done as well. And that can now sit and dry overnight. And of course, we'll prime the bonnet or hood at the same time. Now, colours. I had several colours. We had a couple of zero colours to test. One was Kawasaki green, one was a BMW green. We had a pearlescent TS spray and TS22, and a Mr. Colour C175, which is the very, middle one you will see. So let me explain. So there they are. So that one there, that's Mr. Colour C175. It's a little bit too green for my liking. The metallic colour from the TS spray looked really good, but I just don't think it suited this car properly. And the Kawasaki green, not great. And the BMW green, not the best either. So, yeah. So, the colour we chose was Tamiya TS22. So, out the spray can, this looked quite good. So, that's what we went with. I thought it could probably do a darker than a touch. So, I mixed some TS35 Park Green with the TS22, and we got a slightly darker green mix. Now, I've not test sprayed it. You're going to witness me test spray it right now. So we get a really good shake up. These were both rattle cans. They've both been decanted, off-gassed and thinned about 20% with the Tamiya lacquer thinner retarder. And we've got a white prime spoon. We've got our Ultimate Apex, 0.35 needle, 18 psi. And we're just going to put some coats down, 2 or 3, maybe 4 coats of this colour to see what we've got and to see what we think of the final colour. So after about 3 coats, this is the colour we've got. Starting to look really good. So we'll just apply another light coat. You can go really quick with this stuff. It does dry pretty fast. As you can see, it's ever such a shade darker than the TS22 on its own. So that's perfect. That's near enough the colour I was after. So we can now spray the car. So we've got our Apex again, 0.35 needle, 18 psi. And we've got our mix of TS22 and 25. And we're going to put down several coats of this paint. So again, first coat, quite light. We just go all over the car, get a nice surface paint job down. Not going crazy, we're not putting it on really thick. Just going to get it all covered, and we're going to do literally all inside those windows, all inside the A, B and C pillar, all in amongst those wheel arches, all that engine bay. Just make sure we get everywhere equally covered. And we're probably going to put, I lose count of the coats. I think we had about 4 or 5 coats on this one. They're not too heavy. They do build up a bit heavier as we go. Because as I said, I think this paint likes to go down a little bit wetter. As you can see, overall, it's covering pretty well. I think grey primer is the right choice for this. But systematically go around. We want all that engine bay to be green as well. So we need to be meticulous on all the angles. Make sure we get it all sprayed correctly. And there we go. So I'll show you one first coat, then we'll come back, put the second on, and then I'll show you them as we go through. So yeah, just make sure you go around everywhere. You want to, on this first coat, get all those areas that are quite hard to reach. And then you can come in with subsequent heavier coats on the next coat and get those down. So this is probably the second or third coat now. As you can see, the colour's starting to take shape. Starting to get there. We're starting to get a nice sheen as well. We're not rushing the paint job. We're not hosing it on. As you can see, it's going down wet, but not totally wet. And then this is after probably 5 coats now. And we've been alternating between up and down passes and side to side. As you can see, we've got a very nice green. Really impressed by this colour. Happy with the mix we got, and I think, yeah, that'll do us. That looks like I think it's Go Green. I think it's Dodge Go Green, I think it's called. And yeah, I'm happy with that. For a home mix, that'll do me. Doesn't look too bad at all. Like I say, probably about 5 coats in here. While we're at it, we might as well prime our bonnet scoop and bonnet itself, or hood. Now, a few people have said this part should be moulded to the body because it's a fiberglass part, but yeah, we're not going to try and fill and sand this. It'd be an absolute nightmare. We've got some Mr. Surfacer Black 1500, thinned with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner, about 70%, and we'll throw our Apex 0.35, 18 psi. I'm just going to put a couple of light coats down. So not only will this be our primer, it will probably be our top coat as well. Because we want a satin black. We don't want matte, we don't want shiny. We want an in-between, and I think Mr. Surfacer Black is a pretty nice semi-gloss black. Well, it's not semi-gloss. It's in between semi-gloss and matte. I think it's about right for what we want. So a few coats of that and we're all done. Following day again, the paint's been drying overnight in a nice warm 25-degree modelling cave. And we've got a fun day ahead. We've got some bare metal foil to do. So I'm going to show the back window being done exactly the same with the GT500. There's plenty of guides on YouTube if you want to see anybody else show you this, but this is my way of doing it. So we've got our knife, our tweezers, we've got our cocktail stick, which we're going to round the end off on a 240 UMP thinning sponge, just so we get a nice rounded edge. We've got some cotton buds and a couple of knives with fresh blades in, and refresh the blades as you go because they do dull very, very fast. So, word of warning, I bought 2 new packs of bare metal foil. This is one of them. And I found on the larger areas of the windows where it had plenty of grip, like on this back one, it's a nice prominent window edge. It gripped well. On the front ones where there was less area to grab, I was having some adhesion problems. Apparently it's a pretty common problem with bare metal foil. It goes off over time, I'm told. So if you're buying from somewhere that's got slightly older stock, you run the risk of it not being as adhesive as it should be. Now, like I say, on large areas like this, it was no problem at all. It's got a nice big area to get some purchase on. But when I was doing smaller areas at the front that weren't as prominent, I was having terrible trouble. So I had to resort to an older pack I had, which I knew was more adhesive. So we'll use this one for larger areas and the other one for smaller areas. Make the best of a bad situation. But it's just the look of the drawer, apparently, with the bare metal foil. So we popped it on, we burnished it down with our cotton bud, and then we've used our rounded off cocktail stick to push the bare metal foil right into that window panel line. If I zoom in a touch, we're now going to cut that along the entire length, nice and gently. So don't slip, probably the worst thing you can do. Just positive pressure and lean against the edge of the window itself. You don't need a lot of pressure at all. I've got a Tamiya craft knife here with a fresh blade in. Like I said, doesn't need a lot of pressure. And then grab it and peel it off. And we've seen at the beginning we had a little bit of a miscut. Look, it didn't go through to the paint. So it's just going to need a little run over with the knife. So we'll just go through it again. Cut through it properly this time. See, I'm just pulling it away thinking, has it come off? Is it done? It is. So we can just grab that, gently peel it back, like so. Grab that little snag there. Then we get our cotton bud again, and we'll just burnish it all fully down. Nice and gentle, but we want to get all this edge fully burnished down, and we use our fingers to roll over the edge. And at this point I was having trouble with the stuff that wasn't as adhesive. It was pulling it off at this point. Like I say, on rear parts like this, you've got loads of surface area, so it's gripped well. On smaller areas, if you're struggling, it's more likely down to your foil losing some of its adhesiveness. So we've done the bottom one, top one's done, bottom one's in, exactly the same method. So we just push it in, we cut it, make sure the area's down, then underneath, make sure it's all fully burnished down. We're still going to 2K this, but I've done this 2 ways now. I've done this before and after 2K. The 2K clear has no detrimental effect on the chrome whatsoever, and it's much easier to put on now while the window surrounds are a lot more defined. So that's the way we chose to do it. One of the sides done, again, fully burnished down. Cotton buds doing their work here absolutely fantastically. And then the last side, exactly the same, all cut in and ready to go. So just get it all down, burnish the edges. Make sure it's all fully secured. Get inside, and that's it. Job done. Quite satisfying to do this. I actually quite enjoy doing it. Takes a while to do. It can be a little bit frustrating at times. But just take your time. Make sure all those edges are fully down. and I think it gives a very, very good result. It's available in a multitude of colours. You get black, gold, chrome, aluminium, matte aluminium, and I think it gives a very, very good effect. So that's the rest of the car done as well. We've also done the door handles, the side reflectors, and the front and rear trim on the bonnet or hood or boot or trunk. So they're all done as well. And now we've got some decals. So there's a couple of decals each side. We've got our warmed decal water on our coffee warmer, which rumour has it can also heat up drinks as well. I don't believe myself, but apparently it can. We've got Derwent water pens. And we're just going to pop our decal in place. So you go door cut out on the decal, so line that up as good as you can. Slide it off, get it lined up. Quite nice decals these from Revell. They said Tamiya. Not bad decals at all. Pretty good quality. Not too thin, not too thick. The only thing I found is they're a little bit over long, but I'd rather have them over long than over short. And they do need trimming in the door panel line shuts. So get it down, get it all positioned where you want. Keep referring to your pictures. Make sure you get it all lined up. What I did is popped on the front one at the same time before the back one was in place, using our Tamiya decal tweezers. And I just lined it up to see how much is going to need cutting off from each side. It probably needed about 1 millimetre each side removed from the decal just to get them to sit where I wanted. So they are ever so slightly too long, so they just need a little bit of trimming. So the best way of doing that is deal with one at a time, pop it in, get it set in place, get it into the panel line, then trim it with a brand new blade, set it in place, and then repeat that for the front one. I'll show it in a minute. And then we've got the decals on the side as well. And the decals are really starting to bring this to life now. Really looking good. Of course, same decals the other side, just reversed. Just take your time, nice and carefully. Line it up. Like I say, get the rear door handle lined up with the cutout in the decal. Make sure the surface is nice and wet with water or microset, whatever you choose to use. Get it all lined up, get it all straight, get it all positioned correctly. Then we can get it set in place. Once you've got it set in place and you're happy, you can line up, fresh blade and a knife. I'm just going to trim the excess off that door shut. Like so. Just gently pull it away with a knife. So because the decal is still moist, slicing down is a bit of an issue. So I like to kind of push the knife into it. It cuts it absolutely perfectly. And there we go. Once you're happy that it's done, get it all burnished into that panel line using your cotton bud and your brush. Like so. And then we can get the rest of the decal set in place. And I'll repeat that process for the front decal, which runs along the front wings. Like I say, pretty nice decals from Revell. I've had a couple of problems in the past with them, but probably more user error than the decals problems. And yeah, these lay down really well. They reacted well to UMP normal, so that was mostly what was used. I did a final set in the strong, just to make sure they were fully snug down. But overall, no issues whatsoever. Just this big one to put on the front, and our little one on the side. And that is, well, for the most part, the decaling done. So again, carefully line it up. Again, it's going to have an overhang onto that other decal we just cut. So get it lined up, get it set in place. And then we can cut that off as well, as you can see here. Little decal for the side there as well. Now, obviously, where you've cut the decal, you've got a gap in the panel line, but we're putting a wash in this in a little bit anyway. Got some normal UMP decal solution there. Just going to apply that quite liberally over the top of the decal. Leave it for a few moments and then give it another brush over to make sure any wrinkles are brushed down. While that's drying, we'll get some bare metal foil on the black painted hood or bonnet. Same process as before, nice and simple. Get it cut, get it all folded over, burnish down, cut it through the panel line. And yeah, nice, simple, quick and easy job. And I think the the satin semi-gloss black against the high gloss body is going to look good. So looking forward to this one. I think I've got a pretty good eye for colours. I tend to pick, well, what I consider to be good colour schemes. Whether you agree is a different matter altogether. You might think, oh my god, why is he painted it green? But I think I've got quite a good eye for colour. We'll just check our scoop. Make sure all that bare metal foil is fully burnished down. There's going to be no clear coat on this one. So, next day, 2K time. 2K, clear coat, 2-pack, safety precautions. I got a very good full face respirator. We're going to double glove up. Make sure our arms covered that we'll be in contact with the 2K. Safety first with this stuff. It is a very, very nasty chemical. If you're unsure, don't use it. And don't use it with your family or pets in the room, that is for sure. So my choice is the Gravity Colours Spain 2K clear coat. So it's a 3-component clear coat. So we've got 6 millilitres of clear. And we're going to mix that with 2 millilitres of the hardener and 2 millilitres of the thinner. So we add the hardener next. We then mix that to get the chemical reaction on the go. And then we'll pop our thinner in. So 3 parts gloss, 1 part activator, 1 part thinner, or in my case, 6 ml gloss, 2 ml activator, 2 ml thinner. There's our thinner. Use fresh pipettes for each one. Don't be putting hardener in your thinner because you'll ruin everything. And again, we give it a good mix up. It tends to go a little bit cloudy once you put the thinner in, but give it a good stir and the clarity soon comes back. Now, working time. A lot of people normally ask me on this, working time. Well, I've used it for up to an hour after it's been mixed and had no problems at all. I think I normally recommend about 40 minutes, but if you take into account how we're going to spray this, it's a tack coat, 10 minutes, wet coat, 10 minutes, wet coat. So at the very most, half an hour is probably going to be working on it. So you've got plenty of time. There's no need to rush. We're going to put some water down in our spray booth just to take any dust out the air. Any particles that land should then theoretically stick to the moistened kitchen paper. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case today, as we will see in a little bit. And I'm not blaming anybody, certainly nobody in particular for this, but you'll see in a minute what happens. So we've got our our anti-static brush, just to remove any dust and residue that's landed overnight. As you can see, we've also painted the front and rear side reflectors as well. I did yellow on the front, well, orange on the front, red on the back. I am not sure that is correct, but in my eyes, it's a UK car, so that's the way we do it over here. Quick dust over with the airbrush. How good is that looking? It's looking good, isn't it? We've got a 0.35 apex. We're at about 24 psi. And we're going to put a tack coat down first. So I'm going to show all the tack coat. I'll try and show all the clear coat as well. I know it can be boring to watch, but I think it's important for people to see what actually goes into the 2K job, because a lot of people just cut and like, there you go, there's that done, there you go. And I can do that on parts as well. But the things that you don't necessarily need to see, I think things on like this can be important to watch somebody to do from start to finish. So our tack coat's going down. We're about, 4 inches, 5 inches off the model. We're doing nice slow passes. We'll start stopping the trigger after every pass. We're just methodically going all the way around the model. Don't forget, we want to do that engine bay as well. We want to get underneath all those wheel arches, underneath all those bumpers, all those recessed areas. There's a lot to get to. So just carefully going all the way around. And what we want here is a very slight semi-gloss clear. Now what this does, in the 10 minutes we leave this to off gas, that will go unbelievably tacky. Literally like hit to a blanket. And I did say hit. The drawback to this, because it's ultra sticky, it's a magnet for dust. Because we've got plastic, it seems to be statically charged to attract every bit of dust in the room. Or in the case of today, if you remember in the GT500 video, we did flocking in the spray booth as an experiment. It was totally cleaned out. It's been hoovered 3 times and blown out with the airbrush. And yet, on our second coat in a minute, a big clump, I've got no idea where it came from, of flocking is going to land in that roof. It's a pain in the backside, but it happened. There's no way around it. And like I say, this was hoovered straight away after I finished flocking. Inside the spray booth as well. Hannah did it for me, my girlfriend. And it was hoovered the other day and hoovered the day before we did this. So this is our second coat going down now. So this is a bit of a wetter coat. So a bit more of a purposeful coat. If you look at the back of that roof on the bottom right, you'll see the big clump of black flock, which is just flocking great. But it's happened. The only way to stop that now would be to stop, let it dry for 3 days, 2-3 days, completely flat it back and basically start the paint job again. I didn't want to do that. So I'll take a floor. I am not a perfectionist. I try and do as good as I can, but it's going to have a little bit of flock in the roof. There's not much I can do about it now. So our job now is to get as good a 2K as we can. We'll flat it back when it's all dry and hopefully it won't look that bad. Now, unfortunately, every other dust particle in the room also decided to join his friends, and they landed on the model as well. So we've got several dust spots to deal with as well. And yeah, so safe to say we will not be flocking in the spray booth ever again, and it will be done in the house like we did on the Porsche. So lessons learned, and I'm not blaming anybody at all, especially not Alan. Alan's definitely not getting the blame for suggesting this to me. No way we're blaming Alan at all. Maybe a little bit. No, we're not. It's my fault. I kind of knew it to do this, but I just wanted to try because it makes life a little bit easier. But anyway, there's our first wet coat on. So that's coat number 2, which is a near perfect wet coat, but not striving to get it totally orange peel free. That's under cover now, left for 10 minutes to off gas. And this is our final coat now. So again, nice, slow, purposeful spray. We're a little bit further away. And this is the one we want to get perfect. How it looks in a minute, once we've done this and let it sit for 5-10 minutes, is how it's going to dry. So it's very important to check it, that you've got no orange peel, and that everything's looking equally glossy. And that's it. So we'll make sure we get everywhere. We've got all that engine bay done as well. We're not going mad in the engine bay because I don't lose any detail or make it difficult to shut the hood or bonnet. But we are making sure we're getting every angle covered, all the wheel arches, all the lower part of the bumpers, just to make sure we get that nice equal gloss. But I have to say, these are fantastic looking cars. I've never been a huge fan of American cars, but they are growing on me more and more as the days go by. The GT500, that's a stunning car. These Challengers, this is a beautiful looking car as well. And I love the Leary colours because a lot of our Fords in the UK from kind of this era came in colours like this. So it's a bit of a throwback for me to the cars that I like from a child as well. But there's our third coat. Just having a little final look around. We're looking for any flaws, any orange peel. If you've got orange peel, you can always go over it again. But literally how this looks now is near enough how it's going to dry. So I just have a full inspection round using the light angled to look. We don't want to see any orange peel, no imperfections. And when we're happy, that can go under the box for 5 minutes and then it can come out one more time for a little look. Yeah, that's looking good to me. Yeah, shame about that at the back there, but hold on. It is what it is. We will deal with that later. But that's looking good. Not too bad at all. Quite happy with that clear coat. Apart from the flocking that's in there, it's looking pretty good. See, nice reflection on my back door. So this can now sit in its protective box. As you can see, I've got little clips in the bottom to hold the stand. The stand is taped to the body, and then the case clips over the top. And even though this is knocked, nothing falls off, nothing moves. It stays exactly where it is. And for the rest of today, we'll leave the front of the box propped open to off gas. Right, so yeah, bodywork all done. I can sit and dry now for a few days while we work on other bits. We can go back to the Sky and actually do the interior on that, and then we'll come back and do the engine and running gear on this, and then we can swap and come back. And that way, I'm doing different things at a time. So we've done the body, we'll do the interior on the Skyline, we'll come back do the running gear on this, go back and hopefully try and get that skyline finished up, because it needs doing, because it's looking epic. But as I said in my bench update, really enjoying these Revell kits, and I bought 3 AMT kits, which, if you remember last time, I launched that GT350 over my shoulder because that was terrible. But I've done a little bit of research, and hopefully I bought kits that will need a little bit of work. Yes, I am a builder, not just an assembler, as I've been accused of lately. But I'm not going to be an absolute pig to do so. I bought the 60 El Camino, the 2017 Camaro, and I think I got the 63 Corvette Stingray as well. And from what I've seen, they look to be okay. I don't mind a little bit of work. I'm a builder, you know, I'm an assembler, I'm a modeller, but I don't want builds that are a complete and utter nightmare. And the reason for that is I've got over 170 odd kits that are all really good kits. I don't want to be fighting kits. I don't mind a bit of a challenge. You've seen me scratch build stuff and that, but there's a line I'll draw between it being just a nightmare kit. And the sad thing is, in the UK, the AMT kits, this same kit I bought today, I found in America for £8, £8, and over here I paid £32 for it. So there's a big difference, and some of the kits can be 50 odd quid. And when you spend that amount of money and the kit turns out to be utterly dire, it's not the best. But anyway, I've got a little bit of video of the Challenger I took after the rest of the video was edited, so we'll stick it up and have a look. But it's been a good kit. It's gone together really well. There's a bit of cleanup on the bodywork needed, as always, but it was easier than GT500. We've gone with the black, satin black hood or bonnet, and the black decals, obviously. So it's a nice contrast between that beautiful green. It looks really good. Sadly, the 2K clear coat, we got a bit of flock in it. It was a flocking disaster. It's in the roof, mainly on one side. We can flat it out, that's not a problem, but the flock is going to physically be in the clear, and there's not much I can do about it. So that is what it is. It's there, and well, we'll deal with it and move on to the next build. But I've got plenty of these car kits now from Revell and a few from AMT, so you are going to see these builds off me in the future. Not every one. I just did this one because I was kind of stuck on what to build. Once we get the skyline out of the way, we'll pick something else a bit technical. And I bought another absolutely epic kit, which I'll show you in my next bench update when it arrives. And that will be a future video build at some point further down the line. So yeah, that's it. That's where we're at today. So we're back for part, wherever the hell it is of the skyline. Is it part 5? Part 6? I've forgotten now, I've lost track. Hopefully in a few days. Motoring along with these builds. And it's keeping me focused and eager with the builds and the videos, which is good, really good. One thing I will say though, I asked for advice on AMT kits and ISM, my Paul ISM page, and an American car group, and I'll say some of the car groups out there are full of arseholes, because I had about 50% of the people help, 20% of the people try and insult me by my modelling skills, and 30% just rambled on about stuff that's got nothing to do with what I asked. So yeah, thanks for the help, and thanks for not helping. So yeah, it just shows you're going to stick with ISM, you're safe on there. There we are then, so I will see you in the next part very soon. And yeah, let me know what you thought of the video, any comments or what have you down below, and give a thumbs up, and obviously click the bell notification and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go over to International Scale Model Facebook page and forum and join up. Have a look on upretail.com. We can get a lot of products I use in my videos. Check out the bench page and the Off Air Hangout group for all the links to the live show and the Off Air Hangouts. And of course, check out my Paul ISM Facebook page and Instagram page, where all my day-to-day updates kind of go on there as well. So thanks for watching today. I will catch you all later. If you're still watching this far, write in the chat if you can spell it, shish kebab. That'd be an interesting one. Spell it how you think. I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye. Bye.